Domestic consumers like us always face the problem of high electricity bills and increasing electricity rates. Is there no way out we can control our bills and save money? To help us out, we have with us today Mr. A.V. Ketkar, who is an expert consultant trained from UK and USA with 37 years experience and who has been actively involved with the Indian EC Energy Bus program. Mr. Ketkar, could you tell us how we could save and conserve energy at home?
In fact, a committee of 60 British experts concluded that energy conservation is a word which is usually misunderstood. They thought that the correct word is rational use of energy. This has opened the entire field of reducing energy consumption to all rational thinkers. The second decision which they took is, they said we should start from home.
Yeah, as a housewife, I too would like to know what is the major appliance which consumes a lot of energy?
At home, the appliance which consumes as much as 40 to 60% of your energy is the geyser. Now, if you control the geyser, you can really save energy and reduce bills. The best thing is to stop the use of geyser totally, because if you use cooking gas to heat water, the cost of heating will come down to about 25 to 30% of the cost which you would have paid with electric heating. Now, heating water with cooking gas means a lot of inconvenience, and everybody would not like to go through this inconvenience. So, geysers are going to be used.
Nowadays, we see a lot of geysers in the market. Can you tell us what is the consumption level of these geysers and how we can control it?
A geyser basically is a device which is equivalent to 75 tube lights. So, when you are using a geyser, you must make sure that you do not allow the hot water to be wasted, and you should also make sure that that the water is not overheated. The most convenient temperature for heating water is about 45 to 50 degrees centigrade. If you overheat the water and cool it, you waste a lot of energy. Another thing which happens in case of a geyser is, when the geyser becomes old, it starts collecting dust coming through the water, and the efficiency of the geyser is lost. It starts consuming more and more energy. In fact, no geyser manufacturer tells you anything about the efficiency of the geyser. For example, a geyser manufacturer could tell you what would be the energy required to heat, say, 1 bucket or 15 liters of water.
So, can you give us some hints about the boiler too? I mean, is there any way we can reduce our consumption of the boiler and save energy?
A boiler is similar to the geyser, but is much more efficient. In the boiler also, like the geyser, you must control the temperature to about 45 to 50 degrees centigrade. If you overheat the water and cool it, again you are wasting energy. The most common fault while using the boiler is, people are tempted to keep the boiler on for 24 hours. In fact, one housewife was arguing with me that it is cheaper to keep the boiler on for 24 hours instead of switching it on only while taking bath. But actually what happens is, if you left the boiler on for 24 hours, you keep on losing a lot of heat and you waste a lot of energy. So, two basic things for the boiler is to control the temperature and to switch it on only when required. The third thing is the insulation of the boiler. The boiler has to be properly insulated. Now, to know about the insulation of the boiler, again the boiler manufacturer should tell you what is the efficiency of the boiler, that is, what is the energy required to heat the boiler from a temperature of, say, 20 degrees centigrade to 45 degrees centigrade. Presently, the consumers are not aware. So, the boiler manufacturer do not specify it, and we keep on getting boilers with low and high efficiencies without knowing anything about it.
So, I think consumers have to become more aware of the fact and force the manufacturers to give them all the details. Right. Coming to the second item, the refrigerator, which occupies such an important place in any household, is there any way we could reduce the consumption level there?
Yes, certainly there are many ways. The first and most important thing is temperature, which you want to maintain inside the refrigerator. The most recommended temperature is about 7 degrees centigrade. Unfortunately, no geyser manufacturer tells you what temperature is being maintained inside the refrigerator. Actually, when you spend as much as 10,000, 15,000 rupees to buy a refrigerator, providing a thermometer would not be an expensive affair, but no consumer asks for it and the manufacturer also does not provide the thermometer. The next thing is he gives you a thermostat inside the refrigerator which is supposed to control the temperature. He never tells you what is the range of control provided by the thermostat. Recently, a study carried out by a few girls from the College of Engineering here found out, revealed that the range of control of these thermostats varied from a low level of -3 to +3 degrees centigrade to an extended level of 0 degrees to +16 degrees centigrade. Now, we are left with a doubt as to whether this has happened by intention or by accident, whether the thermostats are ever checked at all. There is an Indian standard for refrigerators which is silent on this aspect.
So, is there any way we could measure the efficiency at home?
Yes, under the circumstances, the best way is to measure the efficiency of the refrigerator and optimize it to the extent possible. The best way, the simplest way and the best way to measure the efficiency is to measure the time for when the compressor keeps running and the time when it remains idle. This can be done by 2 or 3 times, so you can get an average figure.
Is there any best time when we should measure the efficiency?
Yes, the best time is first thing in the morning, because in the night nobody opens the refrigerator door, the whole thing has stabilized, the refrigerator has come to a desired temperature level. Also, the only heat loss that is taking place through the refrigerator is through the insulation and gaskets of the refrigerator. So, if you measure the timing of compressor, running time of the compressor early in the morning and also off time of the compressor, you will be able to get a good picture of the efficiency of the refrigerator. The running time of the refrigerator tells you the efficiency of the cooling equipment, whereas the time for which the refrigerator remains off tells you about the heat loss from the refrigerator. For example, if the running time of the compressor has increased, you may look for a loss of gas or maybe some problem with the temperature of the refrigerator. Whereas, if the off time of the compressor starts getting reduced, it means the heat loss is very high, maybe perhaps your insulation is bad or gasket has gone bad, or maybe the level of the refrigerator is disturbed and the door is remaining open. So, these two timings give you a very clear indication of the efficiency of the refrigerator.
Now, as an housewife, I just know that if you open the fridge frequently, it reduces its efficiency. Is there any other, can you give us some other tips to increase the efficiency of the fridge?
There are 2 or 3 things which you can do. Yeah. One is to prevent ice get formation in the refrigerator, because ice is an insulator, it adversely affects the cooling equipment of the refrigerator. The second thing which is not done anywhere is, there is a grill behind the refrigerator which is called a condenser. This grill basically throws out all the heat which is removed from the refrigerator, and this heat, when it is thrown out by the grill, has to be removed, which means around the grill there has to be free flow of air. If the refrigerator is kept in one corner of the house where there is no free air supply available, you will find the refrigerator will work very inefficiently. Other thing is, the grill keeps on collecting dust, and dust is also an insulation for heat. So, a dusty grill will consume more energy. A recent study has shown that if you clean the grill, the consumption drops by about 15 to 20%.
Now, we have in the market the latest advent of frost-free fridges. What do you have to say about them?
The frost-free refrigerators are very convenient, because no ice collects inside the refrigerator, it appears to be very clean, but they consume more energy. There is a fan inside the refrigerator which keeps on running continuously, the fan consumes more energy, and recent measurements again have shown that a frost-free refrigerator consumes twice as much energy as a conventional frost collecting type of refrigerator.
So, it is better to spend time defrosting than to spend money on a frost-free refrigerator. Can you tell us something about the air conditioner, which is also nowadays becoming a necessity in our household? How much energy does it consume?
An air conditioner has a cooling system very similar to that of a refrigerator. So, in fact, whatever precautions are to be taken for a refrigerator, nearly the same precautions apply to the air conditioner. The most important thing is what temperature you want to maintain and where the temperature has to be maintained, because the air conditioner has a thermostat which is located inside the air conditioner, but you do not want to maintain the temperature there, you want to maintain the temperature at a reasonable location in the room. So, the best way is to provide a thermometer there and set the thermostat so that you get about 24 degree centigrade temperature, then the room becomes very comfortable. There occasionally what happens is the thermostat goes bad and the technician takes a shortcut, he bypasses the thermostat. One of my friends in Delhi used to tell me that he switches on the air conditioner while sleeping and he used to get up shivering at night because the thermostat was not working. And I told him, you have saved for the thermostat and you are spending money to get discomfort for yourself. The second thing is, the function of the air conditioner is to remove the heat from the room. So, if you reduce the heat input to the room, then you will reduce the load on the air conditioner and also save on energy. Now, what are these heat inputs? One is hot slabs and hot walls, because when the sun comes on the walls, they become very hot, they go on giving heat into the room. If there are any air leaks into the room, they also provide heat inputs. There are any gadgets which are generating heat. For example, if you have a refrigerator, it has got a grill behind the refrigerator which is very hot, so that keeps on generating heat. The bulbs, if you provide more bulbs in the room, then also you are putting more heat in the room. So, you should make yourself a small survey, try to find out all hot objects in the room and try to minimize them to the extent possible. So, you will save a lot of energy. The next thing is, the air conditioner has a filter. If that gets choked, then it reduces the airflow, again you are losing on energy. And lastly, as I said, there are no specifications for the energy efficiency of the air conditioning equipment. So, if you again monitor the efficiency of this equipment by measuring the on time and off time of the compressor, you will be able to know the condition of your air conditioning system and then maintain it at the highest possible efficiency.
I think those are really useful hints about the AC and fridge. Coming to the lighting system, could you tell us something about that, because we use the lighting system nearly every day?
We use basically two types of lights. One is what are known as filament or incandescent lamps and the others are tube lights. Incandescent lamps, some people like them, so they use incandescent lamps. Now, the best way to save energy on incandescent lamp is to use an illumination controller. It is a small electronic gadget which can control the illumination of the lamp. Actually, a normal 60 watt bulb illumination can be reduced and it can be used even as a night lamp. These gadgets have 3 or 4 basic advantages. One is, you can control the illumination level to whatever point you require. The second one is, you save energy. Third one is, when the voltage is reduced, the bulb becomes less hot and the life of the bulb is also increased. At the same time, one should remember that there is a small drawback on these devices. When you use a voltage regulator for the bulbs, it creates a radio noise, and if you are like to listen to Vivid Bharati on AM radio, you will only get disturbance. It becomes physically impossible to listen to Vivid Bharati when you switch on these devices. I am not saying that you should not use these devices, but it is better to accept them with open eyes instead of repenting later on.
That's true. And what about the tubes? I mean, are there more advantages?
The tube gives you about 5 times as much light as compared to a filament lamp. Now, what happens is, the first question is whether you need that light. For example, if you have 20 watt or a 40 watt bulb in a room and you replace it by a 40 watt tube, you will get 5 times more light. So, you are really not saving energy. Now, what happens is, the tube has got a choke, it has got a magnetic circuit. Now, that circuit consumes energy and nobody tells you how much energy it consumed. It is supposed to consume 12 watts, but studies have shown that chokes can consume as much as 60 watts. And then what happens is, when you have a 40 watt tube and a 60 watt choke, so it becomes a 100 watt installation.
From chokes, I have heard the term electronic choke which has come out in the market. Can you tell us something more about it?
The electronic chokes are very good. They consume only 1 watt of energy, but the tube functions much better. You do not need a starter. The light also is more steady. The electronic chokes also have a problem like the voltage regulators on the filament lamps. The electronic chokes create radio noise. At this point of time, one thing I should mention, this 1 watt and 12 watt consumption which I mentioned about conventional electronic chokes, the shopkeeper never bothers to measure it. So, when the consumers become aware, perhaps the shopkeepers will carry wattmeters in their shops and they will provide the wattmeters and they will show you a tube installation and demonstrate that it is consuming either 41 watts if it is electronic choke or 52 watts if it is a conventional choke. When that happens, and perhaps that can happen faster now because of the new open economic policy and lot of imported things are coming in, competition has increased. So, perhaps in next 2-3 years time you will find wattmeters in the shops and you will see really good tubes.
So, we can hope for a better future soon in regard with the lighting system.
There are of course still better lights coming. They are futuristic lights. They are known as compact fluorescent lamps. They are far more efficient than the tube lights, but the costs are so high that presently they are beyond the reach of a common man.
So, this gives us about all the information we need about the fridge and the AC. Are there any general suggestions you would like to give us about energy conservation?
Yes, there is a very important item. The condition of wiring inside the house, especially if the house is more than 5 or 10 years old, it is very desirable to check the condition of the wiring, because what happens is when the insulation of the wiring starts deteriorating, it starts consuming energy, but the fuses do not blow out. Now, the best way to check this is there is a little energy meter provided inside for the house. So, you go and look at the meter, you will find that there is a disc running inside the meter. What you should do is you should go on switching off all the gadgets one after the other, all lights, fan, air conditioner, refrigerator, everything. When all the gadgets are switched off, the disc first should come to a complete halt, because rational thinking would say when there is no consumption, then no energy should be recorded. So, the disc should come to a complete halt. If the wiring has become bad, the disc will continue to run, and this is the time you call an electrician, find out where the fault is and get it corrected. This will save a lot of energy which is being wasted.
Now, all of us are in the habit of just looking at the bill amount and paying the amount. None of us really go into the trouble of finding out how the calculations are done. Could you help us in that? I mean, could you tell us how we can compute our bills?
I agree with you. I have talked to several industries who pay bills not in few hundred rupees, but few 100,000 rupees. Even many of them do not know how to read these bills. This question I think is a very good question. The first thing to know is you must have a copy of tariff with you, because the way our country is operating, many electricity boards charge less charge per unit of electricity if your consumption is less, and it goes on increasing when your consumption goes on increasing. So, one must be aware of what is the tariff for electricity in the house. Once you have the tariff, there are 3 things which you can control in the which you should read from an electricity bill. One is the bill gives the dates on which meter has been read. So, you can decide for what period this energy has been measured. The electricity bill also clearly indicates what is the consumption in electrical units. Now, you can convert that consumption by taking law of proportion and find out what is the consumption in 30 days, and you can decide your own assessment of what should be your normal energy requirement for 30 days. And lastly, at a small corner in the bill, there is a amount given that if you delay the payment, what is the penalty which you have to pay. So, knowing the extent of penalty, it is sometimes cheaper to borrow money and pay off that electricity bill instead of holding it out and pay the penalty. Not only that, but you have this sword hanging on your head that your supply will be cut off. Now, at this point of time, one must also have a good assessment of what is his actual energy consumption, and it will be worthwhile to give you a little bit of hint on how to calculate it. What you should do is, Everywhere you know how many watts of energy is being used. If you take a tube, it is 40 watt tube. If you take a bulb, 40 watt bulb. Now, how many watts or how many hours that watt is being used? So, multiplication of watt and hours gives you watt hours. Now, 1000 watt hours means 1 unit of electricity. For example, a 40 watt bulb, when it is used for 25 hours, will consume 1 unit of electricity. If you take a 3 kilowatt geyser, in 1 hour's time, it will consume 3 units of electricity. If you take a refrigerator, it consumes somewhere between 20 to 25 units per month, or say little less than a unit per day. Now, you might ask me, how do I check this? The best way to check it is take some meter readings, particularly you like to check the geyser. So, you switch on the geyser and take the meter readings after running the geyser for everybody. After everybody takes bath, you can take a meter reading again, and it will give you a good picture of what is the energy consumption of the geyser.
So, we can effectively conclude that mere rational thinking will help us achieve this end. We do not need any technical expertise, or we do not need any gadgets to do so. Thank you, Mr. Ketkar, for spending your valuable time and giving us such important guidelines.
Thank you.